Hello, I'm Clyde List. Sherwood's Railroad is the most historically significant railroad in Oregon. All other major railroads in Oregon were monopolized by the internationally famous Henry Villard, a personal friend of Abraham Lincoln. But Sherwood's railroad was built the Oregon way. It was the brainchild of a group of farmers in the Willamette Valley who were tired of seeing their wheat spoil on the way to market. Their scheme was like so many projects of the 19th century, breathtaking. In 1877, the farmers bought a couple of Baldwin engines and some flat cars and some rails and simply started building. The first step was to construct a narrow-gauge line that would transfer river boat cargo to the Willamette. The final step would be to lay rails all the way to the Central Pacific, on the other side of the mountains, as well as to every major city on the coast including Portland. The farmers themselves petered out a year into the project, having completed a 20-mile stretch between Dayton and Sheridan. At that time, a local financier named William Reed, a native of Dundee, Scotland, formed a pool of investors in Scotland and came to the rescue. Chinese laborers were brought in, many of them veterans of the nation's first transcontinental railroad project, the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific. Oregon's little homemade railroad attracted cheers from Oregonians everywhere. Alas and alack, by the time the rails were laid through Sherwood, it was becoming obvious that there was a lot more money being spent than was being invested. The largest corporation west of the Mississippi, the Southern Pacific Railway Company, was rearing its ugly corporate head as the owner of most of the company's stock. Even so, in the early years, it was still possible to ride a narrow-gauge train all the way from Sheridan to Sherwood and on to Portland. Sherwood Mayor Mooreback, who rode the train to Sherwood the year it opened in 1889, never tired of poking fun at the Portland and Willamette Valley Railway, or the Peavine as it was called. What fun and good-natured raillery that wood-burning midget provided the patrons while it operated. The name Peavine was tacked on because the unballasted track had a way of zigging here, zagging there, when the rains softened up the ground, crooked as a pea-vine and speed was out of the question. Sometimes would-be passengers spent most of the day waiting at the depot, watching for a gist of fur smoke to herald the Peavine's approach, then went home disgusted as chore time and no train approached. They started calling it the Tri-Weekly, finally try and make a round trip to Portland in a week. Frequently, when it stopped along the line to load cordwood fuel, all male passengers, at the risk of getting pitch all over their Sunday best, turned out and helped load. Unfortunately, Mayor Mooreback's comments dismissed the serious difficulties the project faced in the Sherwood area. The work of building trestles and making rock cuts was extensive and costly. For example, Chehalem Creek was spanned by a 700-foot trestle, Blair Creek by a 1,000-foot trestle, Rock Creek by an 1,800-foot trestle and Tualatin River by a 180-foot trestle. Deep rock cuts were made at Elk Rock, Oswego, and Chehalem Gap. Old-timers insist that there were so many train wrecks at Chehalem Gap that the area became known as Rex Hill. I suppose that is the most significant part of the story. Because of the Peavine, a gap became a hill, a truly biblical accomplishment.